So we thank God for his goodness towards us. We want your minds to be here, your spirit, you. This is the time that the enemy distracts us the most. This is the time most Christians are most distracted on things, on getting things done, and buying things and rushing in the Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday sale. I notice now Black Friday sale don't done, right? It starts as November hits. Because everybody have a bargain for you. Everybody wants your dollar. And you notice the time people don't think much. Because the season takes over. I don't want us to be ignorant of the plans of the enemy, but I want us to stay focused on what God's plan for us is, and who he is, what we celebrate, why, and how. Amen? Last week we were looking at the origin of Christmas, the story behind Christmas. What is it all about? You have been told from birth, it's the season of Christ, Jesus Christ's birth, right? And in our ignorance, we celebrated it as his birth. Today being the beginning of Advent, now you notice that as time goes by, we keep adding things to the Christmas story. We keep adding more and more things to Christmas in the church and in the world. Because you ever wonder why it is Christmas is so widely celebrated by everyone, you can say? People who don't like God celebrate God's birthday, in other words. The pagan celebrates Christmas. The witches who is against Christ, who is against God, celebrate Christmas. Maybe the devil, who is opposed to God, celebrates Christmas. You ever wonder why? How come you are opposed to God, but you are celebrating? How much of you go to your enemy's birthday party? Send them a gift on their birthday. Or don't even send them a happy birthday. That's all. But the whole world, those who are against God, those who are opposed to God, those who are fighting the things of God, come out to celebrate his birthday. And as I was sitting there, I say, Christmas is what we call the one world religion celebration. The one world government. The one world order. And that is what they want. You see how the whole world celebrates Christmas without a fuss? That is what the world is pushing for as they call for a one world religion. We are getting there. You see that the world leaders in religious circles, they meet together to discuss how could we have one religion. How, and they call it, we will coexist. And if you spell coexist, they put up their symbol for everybody in that coexist. Right, so you have the star, the moon, the Om, the staff of Israel, Christian cross, the demons, everybody. So we could coexist. And they are going to write a document. So very soon you will get the coexistent Bible, which is how we could all, you see, we want to live in peace now. We want to have one religion. All of us understand the same thing. And that's where they are headed. That's where they want you. It's what they call ecumenism, where all churches come together and it looks like it's peace. You passing a rosary, you passing a bead, you bowing down, you worshiping a doll, you taking a dolly, all of us same thing, right? That's where they want you. So why am I saying all of this? You know, kind of like playing football and going back to the keeper before we advance to our goal post to score. So we defend them? No. I want you to know what we are celebrating. Why? Do we celebrate? Do we have to? And there's been for years, there's a fight with some people saying Christmas is paganism, and the church saying no, it's not. Because we hold on to that. But the truth is, what is the meaning and where did Christmas come from? So last week we saw Christmas was always celebrated before Jesus was born. Right? But it wasn't known as Christmas. But the 25th of December was always a date that the pagans celebrated long before Jesus came on this, long before Mary was born. No. That day was celebrated. That day was a big day in the evil world. But we'll get there. Last week we looked at it and we touched here and there. And today again, for those who weren't here, those who didn't hear us last week, we're going to cut and paste some. Right? So we want to be up to speed. We want to know what we are doing, why we are doing, and at least you know the background, and you're not going to worship and celebrate in ignorance. You're not going to be like the world, killing yourself out for things you shouldn't have, or you don't need. All right? So let me just read this before we go into anything. I'm going to read from Jeremiah 10, first part, and then we'll read the second part after. But from Jeremiah 10, verse 1. It says, hear the word which the Lord speaks to you, O house of Israel. So I'm going to say, house of Israel, you believers, right? You Christians. You born again. Thus says the Lord, lean not the way of the heathen nation. Do not lean on the way of the pagan nations, or the heathen nations, or the unsaved, and be not dismayed at the signs of the heavens, though they are dismayed at them. So, the pagans are always dismayed at those things. For the customs and ordinances of the people are false. So their customs, their ordinances, they are false, empty, and futile. It is but a tree which one cuts out of the forest to make for himself a god, the work of the hands of the craftsman with the axe or other tools. Right? So we pause there. So as we were saying, to learn and to know what this Christmas is all about, we have to go back and look at some pagan traditions, customs, and people, and their other gods. So in order to speak about Christmas, let's go back to Noah. Noah, we all know Noah, right? Ham, one of his sons, saw him sleeping, and Noah was charged like a Duracell. Right? Drunk. Had too much wine to drink. And he was naked. And he laughed at his father. He saw him naked, he saw his nakedness, and ran to tell his older brothers, Shem and Japheth. Instead of they were making fun of daddy, they walked backwards towards their father and covered his naked body. So they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah heard of what he did, his descendants were cursed. That they would serve the other two children, and every generation after him was cursed. So Ham received a curse in his generation. Ham received a curse, you know. Tell you Ham was not cursed, but okay, let's not go there. Now, in traditions, they are saying that Ham married a woman called Semiramis. Semiramis is one of the gods of ancient times. She was known as, and we're going to see her, she still reigns today, I think. She's on a lot of money, and I think especially in Brazil. They say also, it is said that the Statue of Liberty is a picture of her. If you notice the Statue of Liberty have a big sun over its head, and it's a shield, and she's holding up this. It's the same thing as some of us see also Mary with baby Jesus. That was always before Mary and Jesus came on the scene. Semiramis always had a bearing a child. Right? It's nothing new, but we will see that down the road. So they had a son called Nimrod, and we know what Nimrod, we touched on Nimrod last week, and we said he was a mighty hunter. And again, when they say mighty, you know, some scholars even say probably he was one from the Nephilims. Now when the angels, the fallen angel mixed with the daughters of men and they had children. And when they called them mighty, they were tall, big, strapping. Right? Powerful. Goliath kind of thing, yeah. Mixed with, so yes, superior people and very intelligent, but he was a mighty hunter, and this is the guy who wanted to build a Tower of Babel. This is the guy who defied God, and he was angry. It is said that because of God flooding the earth and destroying it, and he had a revenge for God, and he defied God, and they would not go and multiply and spread throughout the earth. He wanted to stay right there and build and reach God, and they had a tower, building. He wanted this unity, right? So Noah, grandson, great-grandson, Nimrod, a mighty hunter, and some people feel he wasn't just a hunter hunting people, animals. He was evil. He was the founder of Babylon, Nineveh, and other pagan cities or cultures. But God stopped him in his track when they destroyed the tower and divided their languages. Now, it is said that Shem, one of Noah's son, killed him because he was opposing God too much. He was evil. And Semiramis was also his wife and mother. Now, you see how evil this and how paganism is. In the occult world, the devil like as nasty as you can get. So you like incest. Father sleeping with daughter, mother sleeping with son, and so forth and so on. So when you see that, you know this is a demonic influence here. This is evil present in the home. And this cannot project any good thing. So Nimrod, Semiramis was also his mother and wife. And when he died, she spread a lie and said that he had not died, but that he, in fact, went to heaven. And she said he was the sun god. Now, she wanted to stay in power because Nimrod out, and she was in history have her as a powerful politician, woman. So he went to heaven and he was now the sun god. She became pregnant and claimed it is a gift from God. In other words, she was immaculated. She was conceived by a God. She would not tell you she was unfaithful to her husband and got pregnant. But she claimed that it was a gift from the gods, and it was a reincarnation of Nimrod. So Nimrod came back to life through her. I want to see how the devil was picturing and playing the story of Jesus long before. So now her pregnancy was a betrayal of trust. She was unfaithful. Since her husband was a son, and he was already dead, and now they had a son who born to however, his name was Tammuz. Important name to remember. Tammuz was born on December 25th. He was the sun god of the Egyptians, or Babylonian, Greek, Persian, Romans. And today, he's still observed in some secret societies, sororities, Freemasons, and what have you. Right? So keep in mind, Tammuz's birthday was celebrated on the 25th of December. What we call December now. It is said that he died during a hunting trip. And they also said it was a wild boar or a wild animal. And that's why you want to always kill a boar for Christmas and eat your pork. That's why eating pork for Christmas came. Because you see, his body was found slumped over a rotten pine tree, what we call a Christmas tree now, over the pine trunk. His mother said that the pine tree sprouted from the rotten trunk, and every year on the 25th of December, it was common for people to take a pine tree to their home and decorated it with gold and silver as a symbol of the reincarnation or the rebirth of Tammuz. Now, where do you see where the Christmas tree came from? Where Christmas came from, celebrating Tammuz's birthday. Tammuz died, fell over a tree, maybe, whatever. When they found him, his mother could lie, right? Just as he became from the gods of heaven, she said, well, the sun god, his father, who was reincarnated. And since he came like that from the pine tree public. So every year, they would cut down a pine tree, carry it in their home, and decorate it in celebration his reincarnation. So the celebration of Christmas then, or Tammuz's birthday, which was the 25th of December, was celebrating the reincarnation, the rebirth of this pagan god into their home. That Jeremiah had to warn during. Alright, so let me get back to Jeremiah 10. Take notes on it. Right. Now, Jeremiah 10, verse 4 says, we talked to verse 3, right? He said, the dead, their idols with silver and with gold, they fasten it with nails or move around a tree. Now, let me read it from King James today, right? Is that okay? Verse 3 says, for the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree, one cuts a tree, out of the forest, the work of hands of the workman with the axe. So it's a man taking his axe, cutting a tree. They deck it with silver and with gold, we decorate the tree. I know silver and gold is mostly what you put. They fasten it with nails and with hammer, and it moves not. They are upright as the palm tree. So they make it upright as a palm tree. But speak, it can't speak. They must need be born because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. For as much as they are none like unto thee, O Lord, thou art great, and thy name is great in might. So we see now that the celebration on the 25th was really, and the pagan world knew that. Again, this was long before Jesus came on the scene, before Mary Mother was born, they celebrated this. The Bible has it where are they worshiping other gods. Let me read from Ezekiel chapter 8. I'll cut it short. He said, I beheld, verse 2, I beheld, and lo, a likeness of a man with the appearance of fire from his waist down. He was like fire from his waist upward. He had the appearance of brightness like gleaming bronze. And he put forth the form of a hand and looked me by a lock of my hair, and the Spirit filled me up before the earth. And the heavens brought me in the vision of God to Jerusalem. All this to show him that what was going on. Right? He said, and behold, verse 4, and behold, there was the glory of God of Israel, who had loved and chosen them, like the vision I saw in the plain. Then he said, then the Spirit said to me, Son of man, lift up your eyes towards the north. So I lifted up my eyes towards the north, and behold, on the north of the altar gate was an idol. Was that idol image of jealousy in the entrance? Furthermore, the Spirit said to me, Son of man, do you see what they are doing? The great abomination that the house of Israel is committing here to drive me far from my sanctuary, but you shall again see greater abomination. You can read the rest by yourself. I'm going down to verse 13. He also said to me, yet again you shall see greater abomination which they are committed. Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate to the Lord's house. So he reached the Lord's house. And behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz, a Babylonian god who was supposed to die annually and subsequently be resurrected. Now that's what I told you up front. So this god was supposed to die every year, and they would celebrate it because it was supposed to have a resurrection every year. So that's they put it. So he said, the Spirit, then said the Spirit to me, have you seen this, O Son of man? Yet again, you shall see greater abomination. They are committed. Now this is in the house of God. This is Israel, the people of God. What they are doing? Worshipping a foreign God. Here the woman is weeping. The weeping woman, the woman with the child, she's weeping for her son. And they are celebrating this on the altar in the church. And he brought me to the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the bronze altar, were about 25 men with their backs to the temple of the Lord, and their face towards the east. and they were bowing themselves towards the east and worshiping the sun. When they worshiped the sun, who was the sun god? They were worshiping. The Spirit said to me, have you seen, O Son of Man? Is it too slight a thing to the house of Judah to commit the abomination which they commit here? And they must fill the land with violence. So we are filling the land with violence when we worship the sun god, when we worship other gods. You wonder why there's so much violence here and in the world. Right? Turn back afresh to provoke me to anger. And behold, they put the branch to their nose, actually before their mouth, in superstitious worship. Therefore I will deal in wrath. My eyes will not spare, nor will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet I will not hear them. Right. So, yeah, as we said, they prayed, they fasted, they enjoy themselves, because this is a big celebration. So here it is, the priestess fasted, wept for 40 days and nights over the death of Tammuz at the foot of the palm tree. And once finished, they thanked each other by exchanging gifts, which were placed at the foot of the pine tree. Every year, on the 25th of December, as they celebrated the birth of Tammuz, okay? It's the same Christmas we celebrate. What do? And we put the gifts on the foot of the pine tree, our Christmas tree, and we give gifts. Where did that come from? As I said, it evolved over thousands of years. And we nice it up, we dress it up. And we do it because our forefathers did it, and before the Catholic Church, they was doing it. Now, Christmas was never celebrated for the first 200-300 years. Huh? Jesus never gave us a hint. Well, not to say a hint, but he didn't tell us when he was born. And to counteract the worship of this Tammuz on the 25th of December, which was really worship unto the sun god, is the time the sun came back, and what they're really celebrating is life, because here comes the sun. Now, we know the sun here all year through, so we can't appreciate what they did. But to them, it was the glimmer of light. Light is still in back. We were dark for some time. I think there's a pattern in Alaska after today, there's dark for 65 days. No sun. And here comes the sun. That means life. That means our vegetation will come. We'll be warm again. So on each anniversary of the birth, Semiramis claimed Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gift upon it. The new evergreen tree symbolized that Nimrod had come to life again in Tammuz. So when you put up the Christmas tree, when they put up their tree, it signified, here comes Nimrod again. He is being birthed in the form of Tammuz, and he has come to life again through Tammuz. Notice that also, if you make a Christmas tree, it is in what shape? A triangle, that's all. Most people put a triangle back. Triangle represents the pyramid, which is the gods of Egypt, which every Messianic order uses. They put everything in a triangle. Circle represents the sun. Again, you will see in most of these pagan worship, there's always a circle. You will see Mary holding a baby, they tell you that's Jesus, they tell you that's Mary, there's a sun god around her head. It's not holiness. It's not a halo. We are fooled with that. right? You see one over everybody, right? It's a worship of the sun. It's the sun god. When you bow to it, it's the sun god. It's made like the sun rays, you see. You know, the Catholic have one that they go around with, they have the Eucharist in it, especially the Breviton of Corpus Christi. The sun god, they raise it, you bow, you worship it. Right? So the enemy is clever. The devil has not given, he wants worship. And the church compromised to bring in Christmas, to change it, to say, well, okay, we can't stop them from worshiping their idols. Let's say it's the birth of Christ. Did they really mean the birth of Christ? Or did they want to encourage us to worship Tammuz under a different name? Why choose the 25th? Why choose that day? When it was widely celebrated as a pagan holiday, a pagan time. And not just that time. That here it is. It's a time, now I heard somebody who was into witchcraft, into sorcery, said her grandmother was a witch, sorcerer. And it was one time of year, they were happy. And she celebrated Christmas. No, they were opposed to the church. They would do everything to people who they know in church, who would know love God, who they know they wanted to bring you down. They wanted to bring down Christ. They're against the church. They're against God. They're against Jesus. They hate it. They worship the devil. But and now I think she's older. She can reason why it is they celebrate Christmas. They give gifts. And she said he never said Christ was born or Jesus was born. She always said he was born. And now she knows who is the he who was born was Tammuz and not Christ. But they would celebrate, and still today, we don't want to, we just say Christmas is so nice and great and everybody celebrates. But why? You ever wonder why the people want to kill you all year round? So nice Christmas time. You can say, you know, right? It's happy. Why does the people who are against God, who fighting down you and your religion, will want to worship what you worship? The only thing they want to worship, no. To us it looks great, good, we are happy that people are worshiping. But if I'm not saying you should not do anything, but know what you're doing, why you're doing. You have a tree, it's up to you. You want to light it up, it's up to you. Are you worshiping Tammuz? Are you seeing him come back to life? Does that have to remind you that Jesus is alive? And we light it up this time of the year. You know, I say, I need to put a light and light it all year. Just like that. Most of you know, they were saying it's functional, right? Yeah. All believers are dysfunctional anything. Yeah. Because we do not do the things the world do. We do the opposite. And if you have no idea plan, you are dysfunctional. People always find it dysfunctional when you don't do things based on what the world says. You know? Because if I dress up with stripes and plaid, they say dysfunctional. Because you shouldn't cross. You put like a cross mixing thing and like you know, like you put in corn and wheat together. And if I don't use certain colors to blend, they find it dysfunctional. If you don't live together first and then marry 3 years after, you're dysfunctional. If you're a virgin, they find you dysfunctional. So they will always find the church dysfunctional. Let us stay dysfunctional for Christ. But do the right thing. Right? So, as we go, as I said, we're going to be looking at some Christmas decoration. So we see the Christmas tree, and again, we're going to see how it come about, all that was done. And as we go ahead, we continue to slip in little things. But let me just say, the Christmas decoration, how it came. Now, you don't have to go to the forest to cut down a tree, right? You get it from China. You don't have to nail it or anything. It's on a nice table stand. Can't do anything. Yeah, that's a doornail, but we try to make it look lively. I mean, if it looks good, no? Lights always will look good. So the original Christmas decoration consisted of winter greenery. And again, this was done before Christ. Before Christ, they had, well, we call it Timon's decoration. Couldn't be Christmas, right? So Christmas only came about 300 years after, in 300 and something years, when they decide, let's bring in Christmas. So the first Christians that went before us didn't know anything about Christmas. Paul didn't know nothing about Christmas. Peter didn't know nothing about Christmas. And they walked with Christ. James, the brother, didn't even celebrate Christmas. That's what you're right. So, for 300 years, no one celebrated Christmas. There was a fight with getting people to understand they should not be worshiping demons. So, before that, as I said, there was winter greenery, and this was before Christ. And what they will do, they will be crowning their doors. Having evergreen vegetation around entrance. It was another way of showing, or their custom, that there's life and they're expecting life. They're saying we're going to have a blessed year. The vegetation will come good, in other words. Right? So they hang evergreen vegetation around the entrance. We still do that today, not so? We are rich and we put things all around, I call it garland all around. We don't use fresh green for it to dry by next 2 days. Nobody they can do that. And so right across Europe, especially the Scandinavian areas, the Mediterranean areas, it was customary to deck the hall. You know why they deck the hall with the boughs and they put they deck the hall with the boughs of any tree or plant with any semblance of life and color during midwinter. And this custom existed in Northern Europe. And all this was before Christ. In ancient Rome, December was the time when people will deck temples with new foliage. So they'll do the temples. Like how some people do the church now. Particularly at the time of the month festival, right? At this festival. And last week I told you how they celebrated the feast of Saturnalia with the Romans. And so this time they are decking and they are preparing themselves. So they'll do the buildings with vines in honor of Bacchus, as well as any perennial greenery, anything they get green. You know, that time it's easy to get green things, right? We get green things year round. So that's why it's mostly those green evergreen stuff that will be green through winter. Survive the darkness, it survive the cold. Ancient Egyptians or Egypt, such greenery was not readily at hand. So they used palm leaves, a symbol of resurrection and rebirth, as midwinter decoration. The purpose of these evergreen decoration was to remind partygoers that even in the darkest month, there was life to ward off evil. So your greenery that you put around the door was to ward off evil, was to say that there's life, there's still life at this dark time. We happen to have life year round here. Right? So we don't have to remind ourselves of, hey, next year it's gonna be, we could have to hang up something that tells us of rain and sun. Can't worship the sun God. So you ever got anything that is green to decorate? And they believe that it was to ward off the evil and also to remind them of a fruitful year. So I think I told you all of the Christmas tree last week, and you could gather some from what we said today. There is something also called the Yule log. I don't know if we celebrate that here or use it. Last week I told you about how the Yule season came about and what they would do for their festival is that they burnt a log. And because that log took 12 days to burn, they celebrated, you know, and I was saying maybe we got our 12 days of Christmas from that. But I don't have this song, I was to look for it. But you all know it, the 12 days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, I want you to examine that song. Maybe download it, get it, and see. Everything mentioned there was celebrated as a god and as something. For fruitfulness, the dove, a partridge, there were 12 of them. But we will get into that. I'm going to research it out more. Let me get this song and I don't have a partridge somewhere in it. I don't know what day. Right? First day of Christmas, my true love brought to me. So we will probably look at that before Christmas. But there's a reason why they sang that, because they were, right? Let's look at the Christmas wreath. I know we don't read for funeral, right? I always tell people, let me just digress a little. Why it looks nice on a grave is the most waste of money I've seen. I've said, this church will not send any wreath to anybody who dies. We will send money. I'd rather keep you weak. You know? I'd rather buy cricks and cheese than to put $500 on a grave that somebody will come tomorrow, go back later tonight and take the flowers and resell it. Right? You make smaller decorations and sell it, and then you wear it on your chest, you know. Makes no sense. The dead, the gone, we honor you. Right, so let's change that. So here it is. The ancient Etruscan, the civilization of the Italian peninsula, before the Romans, made rich crown of ivy, oak, olive, myrtle, and laurel leaves, as well as wheat and vines. This was done again long before Jesus' mother and grandmother existed. The ancient Greeks were fond of making crowns of laurel leaves for homes and for heroes and champions But even in Paul days, they had wreath when you won the Olympics, right? Now, the origin of this was to resting on your laurels, that phrase is a warning against resting on your laurel. Don't let rest on your wreath. That's why they say don't rest on your laurel. We have a different now. For past victories, instead of going out in search of a new one. So you just win something, they give you a wreath, don't rest on your hand. So don't rest on your laurel. Last year. Don't rest on your gold medal, obviously. Not because I have to feel next year you're winning, right? To continue working. So the custom of hanging a wreath on the front door of homes stretches across Europe, cultures, European, and from the Mediterranean to Scandinavia. The ancient Greeks wore white and red wool threads with vines, wheat, and other important crops, and created a harvest wreath that became a home amulet. In other words, besides putting it on a home, they hang it on their door. And you notice most of these Christmas trees, they either put cherries or berries. Berries was one of their fruit. And they put different fruits and things on it. The sacred items of protection hung on their front door year round. Right? So they will have their sacred protection hanging on their front door all year, but their wreath, that's where it came from. From Eastern Europe through Greece, all to the Ukraine and so forth. The pre-Christian times, many cities had ceremonies involving singing youths carrying sacred wreaths through the street to temples. They were carrying to their temples on the street as harvests. So Carolyn was born out of that. You should realize that by now. Because they're singing going. The wreaths, often with the laurel leaves, were decorated with harvested fruits and nuts. They were either hung in temples or carried home. Their hanging was followed by feasting and celebration. The sanctified wreaths were supposed to protect cities and homes, dwellers against plague and misfortune, and ensure a good harvest the coming year. So we put up a Christmas tree, and to them, back then, this was the purpose of it, is to protect us from evil, from plagues, from having a good harvest. And what else? So the song, we do Carol again, I read Carol. So these are some of the traditions that came to us. Again, we have a lot more. As we go down the road, we will be examining them and see how Christian they are, how they came into the church. How did this Advent season come? How did the 12 days of Christmas come? That was always celebrated. The pagans had their time of feasting, 21 days before, 12 days. Some of them ended that. And the church kept adding and bring Epiphany, and they brought different Sundays between Christmas to that time. All these were makeshifting, not ordained by God, never was there before. Now, we have people who tell us what you need to get, and it's the biggest time for trade. So the world has cashed in on this. All this foolish, all this stupid, we're going to make money. Now they have everything with Christmas, with Santa Claus. Now I get Santa Claus, huh? I dislike the man. It's like the picture of the man. He is too popular for Christmas. Is it his birthday? No. Yes, it's his birthday. That's why he's hanging all over the place, and you can't see Jesus' picture nowhere. You know when you born and see Jesus' picture for Christmas? You have Santa Claus, you have reindeer, you have snowman. We don't have snow here, but we put in snowman. We make it snow, we blow in snow. This is a winter festival. We don't have winter here. And for years we sang, we were dreaming of White Christmas. Foolish as we were. We could never have gotten a White Christmas. We have to travel together. Not yet. So now everything is Christmas. Everything has a face on it. Your cup, your spoon, your fork, your toilet paper, just not. They put him on a napkin. No, he's in pajamas and PJs and underwear. So when he start coming in the underwear, you know you will walk outside of that to show. There comes Santa. So we have him on everything. He's hanging around your home. Anywhere you turn and see him. So you are reminded of him. Last week we saw him running through the sky, you know. But we're going to have a day for him. We're going to look at him. I think we need to probably look at him maybe next week. Not promising, but because we fool our children. You have to be good or bad, and you have to be good because I don't give no. Stop it, people. So people still believe in it. I think yesterday had traffic jam somewhere by extra food because not just the Coca-Cola truck was coming, but because Santa was around. And every mall will have Santa Claus appearing, and people are trying to go mad, people are thronging, bringing a trend to sit on Santa's lap because they have been good. Right now, today, I guess there are many creche lighting ceremonies across the country. And it's lie, you know. We're going to light a creche that Jesus was never in. It doesn't represent the Christ child, because you're going to start to lie by putting the wise men there with him, with cow, with donkey, with goat, and everything else, and sheep. Joseph and Mary, mother-in-law and father-in-law must be there too over there. The wise men were never there. But we say that, we put them there. And we're going to sing towards a crash. We're going to remember the birth of Jesus. How far we have fallen, church. And the world has us squeezing. And then we want to get up to what we tell them. Christmas is the time most Christians are drunk, half drunk, or quarter drunk. Christmas was a season of drunkards and gluttony. It still is today. Those who don't drink doesn't overeat. Those who have no food doesn't drink and get drunk. Husband beating wife, wife leaving husband because he couldn't buy her nothing new. And if you don't get them a gift for Christmas, trouble take you. So we see already where the gift exchange and gift giving was, where it came from. Maybe we'll look at it again. We have to be born again. We are renewed. Do not allow this time to tie you up. People can't come to church at this time because they're busy shopping to buy Santa Claus things.